And I have explained about what GSSI does, what SSCI, and what is the seafood map. What I would like to explain it is that how MarinTrust, it will be working with GSSI, in which way we'll be working. So we were explaining before, we are in a privileged position because we have MarinTrust as a unique position as the bridge between fisheries and aquaculture standards, and to progress in the traceability throughout the value chain. GSSI as a benchmarking tool that follows the FAO Code of Conduct for responsible fisheries. This ensures the credibility to seafood standards. And the GDST is to provide that information, the framework, and the standardized and effective traceability. So each of us will have a different a role here, in this case. And this is how, from the perspective of the fish meal plan, how will that work? We see there fisheries that are under the GSSI benchmark. So we are working towards recognition. We recognize fisheries that are MSC certified. We have a verification process for that. But what we want to do is that we want to recognize other certification programs, other fishery certifications, and the GSSI is the benchmarking tool that will help us recognize them without further constant, evaluations and everything. That makes this process a bit long, and sometimes recognition, facilitates the flow of process. But not only that, we are going to recognize. We still have our own, the MarinTrust Improvers Program material entering the fishery plant approved materials, that are from the fishery assessment. All of this, it's in order to, follow or achieve the objective to increase to 75% of marine ingredients globally to be assessed under or under assessment, assessed or under an Improvers Program by 2025. And in this way, so we recognize all these fisheries will enter the MarinTrust site. It is fish meal and also chain of custody, and then all of that will go to the aquaculture standards that are GSSI too, and that also recognizes. So in this way, we're going to be able to increase more the pool of assessed marine ingredients that are demanded by the market. So, driving traceability forward. Really, the marine, as I said before, the marine ingredient industry is working hard to satisfy the market expectations, and MarinTrust is aiming to help the industry become the leader in traceability. It's very important to do this, to become leaders, and in one way that we're going to do is, as we mentioned, we're going to include these elements of innovative traceability, at the basic level, in MarinTrust version 3, in order to encourage businesses to prioritize or to take a look at this and see that this is something that is coming. But it's not about the blockchain that we were looking for and anything. It's more about understanding the basic elements of traceability and how to standardize that wording to go through it. So we are not telling you you're going to have blockchain. No, it is. We're telling you is that we need to standardize our language in order to be able to facilitate that information across the different actors of the value chain. And with that, also in order to achieve that, further pilots will drive this continued improvement and demonstrate feasibility. We need to have more pilots in this, and that's why we're also here. And I call, if anybody wants to discuss with us about the different pilots that we're doing, it would be great to have that. And really, to sum up the whole session, share the word, please. Share the word, and that what we're doing as an industry, it is important that we share the word and we demonstrate that we are actually working hard to be the leaders in this. This is something that will help with relevancy to the business, and compliance. And in order to achieve that, traceability is a must, and innovation via digitalization is key to make this thing, more up to the times. Excel sheets, manual data and everything is something that it will become part of the past, because other more innovative ways of passing information will come. One of the points also for this is to position marine ingredients as the leading actors, as I mentioned to you. And I keep saying this because it is important that we have that mentality in place, that we need to lead other ingredients. And, in aquafeeds, pet food, and direct human consumption ingredients. So it's not only aquaculture that we're looking for, it's also other industries that the marine ingredient producing sites supply. And this will be achieved via the collaboration of the different actors within the marine ingredient value chain, which is really essential to achieve this full innovative traceability. So as you know, and we have said this, traceability is something that cannot be done alone. It's a effort, that it's a collaborative effort between all the different parts of the value chain. And we call all these different actors to start being proactive, to start understanding and consider that this is something that will come in the future. And with that, well, I just thank you very much for being here. It's great to see a full, actually, with a few left, I know. But thank you very much for that. It's been great to see this, and I hope that this event has helped you understand all the great work that different initiatives, including MarinTrust, are doing to improve practices, but also, in the case of MarinTrust, to empower marine ingredient factory sites into this new world. So thank you very much for your attention, and we will have some questions for Eva, for me, if you want to have. Yes, it's on.
Thank you very much. I was just wondering, now we heard also from GSSI about the regionalization and how important that is, and how much will that be reflected in the new MarinTrust version 3? You didn't say anything about it, but I do believe also with the traceability that we just talked about, in Europe we have, it's a legal requirement that you have full traceability, one step back and one step ahead in the value chain, and I think a fact like that should be recognized regionally. So we are all eager to see the version 3, and just wondering and putting a question if that will be part of the new standard.
Well, there are certain practices that, I know that the regionalization of practices, it's something that it's key. And we can consider that. I mean, at the moment for version 3, we are trying to keep it as a standard, standardized the practices alone. However, we are trying to understand the different perspective of the different regions, to try to get the basics or the main common denominators through all of them, to try to make this as a bit more standardized. With regards to the regionalization of it, it's something that we need to be a bit more understanding of it, because when you have a standard in itself, the same word standard, it says a lot, that it has to be everything is standardized. And in order to recognize practices in regards to the regional sections and everything, in accordance to ICIL guidelines, in accordance to everything that we need to do as a credible certification program, there's a lot of work in the background that needs to be taken into consideration. There's a lot of evaluations and everything that needs to take into consideration for us to be able to say, yes, we recognize this. Because not for the simple reason that it says we do this and it's okay, we are going to recognize it, because we need to demonstrate why we recognize it. So there is a lot of work to be done on that front. We are working on that with version 3 with regards to trying to get the common denominator for this, to try to get first the main points that are requested by the market, the ASC, the BAP, Global Gap, all these people that are requesting certain things that we need to provide. However, we are always aiming to simplify the operations. And I know regionalization is as a key thing to simplify this type of processes. So, yeah, we are going to consider that, but for version 3, we are not considering this regionalization that you may be thinking about, acceptance of fisheries and anything, because we're trying to make a common ground on it.
Thank you, but I do know, like the ASC, for instance, they have a regional approach, or they have a I don't know if it's regional, but they take into consideration the legal requirements in that area. For instance, on byproducts and bycatch. And would you be looking at something similar? So you can bypass maybe some of the requirements because you know it's a legal requirement that is already being fulfilled.
Okay. We are working with the ASC into aligning our due diligence process. Yes, we are aligning with them. We're working with them because the idea is that any site that is MarinTrust will be able to do this due diligence that ASC is requesting. I mean, everybody will need to do that due diligence anyway for the ASC. So we are working on that with the ASC. ASC is part of our governance. We have ASC members in the SSC, in the Standard Steering Committee, in the GBC. And that was one of the key parts to make this process of byproducts actually more simple. So we're working with the ASC on that. Michel.
Yeah, thank you. Eva, thank you for the presentation. And maybe a question to both you and to Francisco. There was a slide at which you entered MarinTrust on, I think, the governance side of GSSI. Is that intended as part of the wider partnerships that determine the direction of GSSI, or as a commercial collaboration opportunity?
Yeah, thanks, Michiel, for your question. Just to clarify, are you talking about the slide with the retailers at the bottom and the initiatives at the top? Yeah, so that slide's actually to represent, so at the bottom, you know, we have always worked directly with retailers to make sure that they include the reference in their sourcing policy. But acknowledging the fact that there's actually so many more players in the seafood industry that are working with certification one way or the other, or that actually are working to advise retailers as well, or other buyers. We also have collaborations with other initiatives to make sure that they also accept that reference to GSSI. So it's actually not the governance, but for instance, this could be in the form of guidelines, like for instance, FMI is a retail organization, Client Earth, UN Global Compact, they all have guidelines showing, you know, this is everything you can do to source sustainably, for instance. And that's what we work with them to make sure that whenever they reference certification, that they reference any GSSI recognized program. So with MarinTrust, that is very much relating to the slide that Francisco just showed, where, you know, that acknowledgement of something already coming from a certified source. So with that from a sustainable source, that there we have the GSSI recognized programs as that reference. So that's what this is referring to.
Mm-hmm. Any other question?
Yeah, hi, it's Jay. I always follow Michiel, but that's probably appropriate. The from MSC. Eva, I just want to ask a question about, in the beginning you talked about choice, credibility, and clarity, I think, as your three main drivers. And the seafood map, to me, I think provides a good element of choice potential, but I'm not quite sure about whether the lower levels have the level of credibility that you would want to associate with GSSI, which is all about making sure that the credible standards are being met. So can you just address that a little bit, whether the self-declarations, et cetera, how that fits into your view of credibility?
Yeah, thanks, Jay, for your question. So, you know, the words confidence, clarity, and choice, we've always worked at. Choice, of course, referring to the fact that we need to have a variety of solutions and accept those as long as they are performing on an equal foot. and confidence and clarity, much more of that understanding of how the different initiatives compare to the international guidelines. So with Seafood Map, it also very much aims to do that, and that is why we're not only working with, you know, the 10 principles, so we're not only looking at the scope and the topics that they address, but actually a very big role there is for the level of credibility of the information that is provided, and making sure that we have a lot of transparency, and actually also, you know, making sure that it is also actually understood that, you know, third-party GSSI recognized certification, the due diligence you need to do there is very different than if you're sourcing it from an improvement project or maybe an NGO project. So actually really providing a lot more transparency on that there is a lot of difference in there. And you know, that's why we also very explicitly with our buyers, partners, make sure that, you know, this is not something you need to reference in your procurement policies. It's something you can work with in your business, but it's not a reference you can make. It is really much more of a tool that allows you to compare and really understand the due diligence that you need to do for the supply that you are getting that is actually not certified. So I hope that clarifies. Just stay there.
I think so. Any other question? No? Okay, great. I just have a question, actually. I don't know if somebody noticed. And it's that maybe a question of why is MarinTrust not recognized by GSSI? You know? And that is because you need to define when the certification programs, you need to define what is the units of certification, what it is that is certified in this case. So GSSI recognizes standards that are fishery certification standards. MSC, they have the Gulf there, they have the Icelandic one, Alaskan one. You have also, they also have recognized aquaculture, because the units of certifications are the farm operations, okay? And we, MarinTrust, are in the middle. So we are not recognized by them because our scope doesn't fit the bill for them. But that's why we're working in collaboration with them, because we feel that we can be a tool, a vehicle of GSSI product to actually enter to be secure and going from one place to another one, going from a fishery certification to an aquaculture certification. So that was one that I wanted to clarify, because I was thinking somebody's going to ask me this question. Nobody asked it, so I'm just asking myself. And for that, if there is any other question, thank you very much for all your attention to this workshop, and I hope you had good insights from this. And if you have any questions about the MarinTrust program, GSSI, GDST, or any work that I have done on innovative traceability, please contact us. You know, I have here also the MarinTrust team, that if you have any questions about it, improvers program, assurance, or application forms and anything, we're going to be here to answer all those questions. Okay, so do you have another question?
Would you send out the presentations?
Yeah, we can send up. Do we have I have the names, so I will be able to check who emails, and yes. Yeah, we will send the presentations. And with that, well, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and I will see you there and have a drink in the welcome reception and cocktails and everything. Thank you very much.